Welcome, everybody. You are in episode 27 of the Zion Experience, the TZE, as we call it. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are a long-time subscriber, then we're glad to have you back. We've got an exciting episode for everybody today, and we're happy to bring it to you. Again, this is the Zion Experience. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, really anywhere there's a podcast. And we drop a new episode about every 2 weeks, and we talk about all things in the warehouse, fulfillment. Sometimes we just have really interesting people on the episode, but we're glad you're with us today. So I've got a special co-host. Chuck Frank is sitting in for Jordan Frank this week, and I'm Jimmy Shaw, your host. And we've got a special guest, Pete Allen. Pete joins us. He has been in let me introduce Pete. Let me do that. And this episode is going to be about the state of robotics. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Pete has about 25 years of experience in sales, customer success, and partnerships. He is a customer-focused technology executive, and he leads the strategic partnerships at Agility Robotics. He's a pioneer, or Agility is a pioneer of mobile manipulation robots. And his mission is to help customers transform their operations and achieve a competitive advantage by leveraging the game-changing potential of Digit, which is the first robot or humanoid that can walk seamlessly into existing facilities and connect islands of automation. So, Pete, we're very glad to have you this morning. We had to push the start of the podcast back a little bit. I had donuts with my 4-year-old this morning, and so I thank Chuck and Pete earlier. You have to take time for moments in life when you've got them. And I've got one more donuts with Dad with my 4-year-old next year. So Pete, Chuck, thank you all for being on. And Pete, we're super glad to have you. I did what I think you sent us to explain and to give a background of you. But if you could answer one question, Pete, about just who is Pete Allen? If you want to tell us a little bit more about your career path and some of your experiences over 25 plus years in this industry.
Sure. Happy to. Jimmy, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to join this podcast and hang out with you and Chuck for a half hour or so and chat about the state of robotics. So excited to be here. A little bit more about me, maybe. I'm a husband, father of 2 grown men who I'm very proud of. They're off in the world doing their own thing today. I'm super passionate about sports, living here in the New England area. We've had a great run in the sports world, and I'm very passionate about that. But I'm really passionate about the world of robotic automation. So I have spent my entire career, as you said, kind of on the sales side or the go-to-market side of the world. I've been an individual contributor. I've run sales organization. I've been chief customer officer. I've been a CEO. I've been general manager. So I've done a lot of things on the executive side, but having been now in robotics for the last 4 years, it's really kind of my super passion, if you will, and what I'm excited about. And really what's great is I get to meet a lot of great people in this space like you guys. So again, happy to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
That's awesome. How do you feel you did in the draft last night?
I'm pretty excited about the pick of Drake May. I got to be honest with you. I was partially hoping they might trade down, but then again, at the end of the day, he's got the prototypical type build. Is he going to mature and grow into the position? We shall see.
Yeah. Well, good luck with things. So you guys have had a good long run.
We've had a good long run, and it's unfortunate how it's ended, but hopefully we bounce back.
Yeah.
There's probably several people that are okay with New England not having a few bad years. They've been on top so long. Yeah, I think that's transitioned a little bit to the Chiefs. There's like a little bit of Chief hatred out there now. It's like you either love them or you hate them, and but you can't deny the success that they had. And there was something special that happened with the Patriots there.
All the Kansas City fans that are all the non-Kansas City fans that are rooting for other teams have been displaced by the Swifties. So it all works out. So
that's a good point.
I think it's interesting, though, if you look at both of those teams, right? What's the commonality in their success? Both had great quarterbacks and both had great coaches, right? Sure. And that tandem is driven both to have these phenomenal runs.
Yeah, it takes two. And I think they had a big question, like, who was it? Was it Brady or was it Belichick? And I don't think you can separate the two of them. I think both of them were pretty special, and just together they were really special. So
Yeah,
well, Pete, thanks again for joining. Thanks for a little bit of the background. And one of the things you said is passion and just meeting new people. And so how we met, I don't even know if Chuck knows this, but we met. This industry's run by relationships, and
it totally is.
Your relationship and your reputation usually precedes you. And so Pete reached out to us. Pete, I don't even remember. It's probably been 3 or 4 months ago when we just started talking. And I remember right away, you could tell the passion that you had for what you do every day and what you wake up with. And just, you've always been an easy person to talk to. I'm a pretty transparent person. Zion's a pretty transparent company. Pete's the similar way. Agility's a similar way, as we've gotten to know each other a little bit better. And so I've just appreciated you working through, as we've been talking over the last several months with the companies, and your passion definitely comes out. So there's a lot of really good people in this industry, and I would consider you one of them, and glad that we met and glad you reached out. And just that goes a long way when you're working every day. I tell people every day, these systems we build are not easy. They're tough, they're long, but you end up building some really strong relationships and working with some really good people. And for me, that feeds me, that keeps me going. And so thank you for that. And just, you've had a lot of success in your career. What are a couple things you're maybe most proud of? What are 2 or 3 things that, if you look back over 25 years, is what's Pete proud of?
Yeah, I would say probably the very first thing, and it starts with, is maybe before the career started, which was I paid my way through college, like all by myself. And, that really taught me kind of 2 life lessons. One, financial responsibility, right? Because you're young in the world, you're not really working, you're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay for all this? And then 2, accountability. Well, I watched a lot of my friends not go to class and maybe not do so well in school. I was paying my own freight, so I was accountable to go to class and keep my grades up. And I think those were really good life lessons, at an early age. I would say probably the second thing I was most proud of, and it got another kind of like reminder of what's right and what to do in your career, was when I was at a company called Mixed Telematics. We were the U.S. were part of an organization, small entity. I just joined them. It's about a $5 million company. But I was brought in by the current CEO, who was a peer of mine from another organization. He brought me over. And we put together a leadership team and quickly turned the company within 3 years to 30 million in revenue, contracted revenue of 50 million. So fast, quick growth. And we did it because we changed the culture, right? We changed it from kind of a not a friendly, team oriented, work hard, be humble, be honest culture, to all of those, what I would call positive things. And it's a reminder to me that, culture plays a huge role in our organizations, right? And having people that are transparent, that want to work together, that, really value partnerships, like those things got to mean something. And that's what I mean by culture. So those are kind of 2 kind of things that I've been super proud of. And I think the third is being one of 6 general managers hired at Berkshire Grey when they started and launched their go-to-market team in 2020, right? It was a really fast-paced company. We were putting, fuel on the fire. We hired like 80 people to go on the go-to-market team and really went after it. And it launched me into robotics automation, which is what I'm super psyched about. As you said, it comes through talking. But I'm going to go back to your story about how we met, right? Because this ties back to Berkshire Grey. You guys at the time were talking to them, and this was prior to Zion even being formed. But one of the people I reached out when I joined to Agility was an old friend of mine from Berkshire Grey, Venkat. And I said, hey, Venkat, who are the right type of systems integrators to be working with? And he immediately said Zion. He's like, you got to talk to Zion. You got to call Jimmy. You got to see what they're doing. They're progressive on robotic automation. They're into it. They've got a lot of deep relationships in the industry. So I just reached out and we picked up the phone, and here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had forgotten the name, but I knew it had come through the Berkshire Gray, and that's why I said Chuck and I are mate. We just got back from Mahita, which is a trade organization we're part of, and Chuck, we got to spend time together. We don't get to spend a lot of time together. We're all in different offices sometimes. We're all super busy as you're growing a business, but we got to have some time. We got to sit down for a dinner, and we were just reflecting a little bit on it's been 2 years with this, Pete. We're going into year 3, but it's been just a super fast 2 years since we stood up Zion. We've all been in the industry for a long time. Most people know our story, but what we've been able to accomplish, the partnerships we've been able to put in place, and just we just stopped and count our blessings sometimes that we're associated with good people, and that that customers have entrusted all of us, right? We say all the time, all we've got are people. We got our great partners, and then we've got customers. And without our people and our partners, we can't take care of our customers. And yet our customers have entrusted us with some really nice jobs, some big jobs that a traditional 2-year-old company wouldn't get. But it's because we have deep partnerships, and we'd like to think we're good people. And for us, it's pretty easy. Chuck and I talk, it's just humans helping humans. That's Chuck's saying. And but we talk about how important relationships are, and I don't think you can overlook that. So, Chuck, you got anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Pete, I think that getting to know you and spending time and really hanging out with you at Modex, just from an agility perspective, you at the show, sitting up on the top deck, looking at the show, the time that you guys spent, the time you're spending working with your channel partners. You seem to have a really great approach as it relates to just the cultural fit, the commitment, the understanding of whom you're looking to partner with. You're not looking to partner with everybody in the world. So it was very refreshing. Just really appreciated being there at Modex, seeing the product, talking to you and your team, and then, the recent visit to come see you in person, to continue those discussions, and just you guys laying out your path and your vision of where you're going. And then I think you're one of the few that you're not trying to blitz the market. You're not trying to take on more than you can. You guys have got an awesome roadmap, and that roadmap is 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 years, you're talking about. And being with you guys and us, we're in solve space, right? So we're like, hey, when are these guys going to be out, bringing the footballs in on the NFL field? What are they going to be picking thing? And your approach is just like, hey, look, this is what we're doing, and your PTOs and our POTs, POCs. Let's go with that. POCs. Yeah. Very cool. So just everything that you guys are doing to me is long-term sustainable success. I think a lot of people can have short-term success and, try and build something and maybe flip it and get out and see what happens. But just thanks for allowing us to be a part of that journey and sharing with you what we do and our go-to-market strategies, and us listening to what you have. And we think it's very complimentary, and we're super excited about, what you guys are doing. And, maybe you can share some of those things and what Agility is up to, but just kudos to you guys.
Chuck, thank you for the kind words, first of all. I mean, I appreciate it. I think I had the luxury of, having been in this space for the last 4 years, I've learned a lot, right? And I've watched others in robotics get into this space and how they've approached building a partner network. And I've watched people fail at doing that. But I think one of the things that really stands out to me is you've got to be honest about your approach. You've got to be strategic about your approach. And if you're not transparent with potential partners, what are you doing? And the other thing is you got to be real about what your product can do, right? And what it can't do. And I think there's too many YouTube videos out there showing other robotic systems of all different kinds, not just humanoids, but all different kinds that are showing things that are unrealistic, right? Or they're touting things that are unrealistic. And I pride myself in throughout my whole career of being very transparent. This is what we can do, and this is what we can't do. So thanks for those words. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think that's a wonderful transition. I'm going to mix up how we get into a few. So,
Sure.
we've got a couple directional questions, but just Pete, before we get into agility, what's your view? What's your vantage point on the current state of robotics? How would you see it? And it doesn't have to be like you said. I think robotics is a big term. So you can classify it, you can break it up, or you can just kind of hit it at the high level, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think I'm going to look at it from the last 4 years lens, right? I would say that robotic automation is growing rapidly, right? I think we are seeing more and more deployments of all different kinds, right? AMRs, ASRSs, right? There's a whole variety of ASRSs out there now, from Exotech to AutoStore to High and Adverb, and across the board, right? But we're seeing more. Actually, we're seeing more robotic automation in all these different sectors as well. We're seeing put walls going out in a lot of the e-commerce worlds. And now we have the dawn of the mobile manipulation robots, or the humanoid robots, as many people have seen them, is kind of the white hot spotlight, if you will, right now. And then there's the reality of what does that really mean, right? It's super exciting. But I'd say the general state is more and more companies are adopting robotic automation. And I think it's led largely by systems integrators like Zion, right? You guys are leading the charge, because who's designing these workflows? Who's helping companies to increase their capacity and to lessen the demand of the labor problems that are out there, right? And robotic automation allows you to do both of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe this is a little bit of a curveball question, but Chuck, you've been in the industry for a super long time. I've got 25 plus years. I think you're 35 plus. Pete, you've been it was Berkshire Gray the first time you really stepped into the warehouse fulfillment?
I was on the trucking side of the warehouse before that. So I was doing telematics.
So you've been around it. I mean,
yeah, I've been around the warehouse for a long time.
Yeah. So just from your all's perspective, I always think it's cool. We had Bob Treblecock on, who writes all of the modern material handling cover stories. You've probably seen him. Super nice guy. You'd never know. Very humble. One of the things he talked about is he was there through the moments of warehousing changing. And so he was there when he was actually, him and a guy from Gartner, Dwight, I can't pronounce Dwight's last name, but they coined the term WES. He was there when Kiva hit the market. So just as you all look at it, maybe Chuck, starting with you, it's just, if you look back over, since you first started, when you started in this industry, how much has robotics changed since then? And when did it really kind of hit the stage and become something real versus, we'll talk about this when we get to agility, what looks good on a video, what looks good in a presentation?
Yeah, I would just say, you go back to the kind of the Kiva days and Amazon acquiring Kiva and putting those into their network. And, the world really wasn't sure what that was going to be. That was newer technology, and how quickly that became commoditized with it's just a Kiva bot, right? And then it just went from there. I don't think I ever thought that, in my working career 20 years ago, you didn't even think about robotics. It's just the Jetsons. I mean, for those of you that remember the Jetsons, they were ahead of their time. And so you really were focused on conveyor and sortation, and then, high-speed sortation, and you just never envisioned this robotic field and this technology. So it's just very cool. I'd say the last 10 years, AutoStore's been around for a long time, and then there's a bunch of fast followers, and then the world's caught up to them, and then just the other things that are coming out, and every day there's a new technology that pops up. So there's so many shiny objects that are out there that you have to really vet out, look into, and I think what's kind of cool about it, Jimmy and Pete, is just recently listened to a podcast with Jeff Bezos, and he was saying that his analogy, it was just that what I think companies like Pete, you and Agility are doing, you want to have this device, this humanoid that can just go out and conquer the world, right? But it takes time to do that. But what you guys are doing is you're the inventors. You're bringing it to the market. You're building a foundation. And as he said, that foundation, it may not be fully evolved and designed for 15, 20 years. But what you're doing is you're allowing the opportunity for that foundation to be built so that, you know, the next generation can come along and they can take and build from that foundation. And, you know, they now have the digits or the fingers or whatever working right. But none of that would be possible without what you guys are doing right now and taking the time to do it. So it's just, to me, it's just, I think that these humanoids if you fast forward 10 or 15 years, it's going to be amazing. It really is. The number of humanoids that are out there, and they're not to displace humans. It's just that the fact of the matter is that, you know, with the demographics the way they are, they're just a complementary opportunity. And so super excited about it. Fun to be a part of it, see it all come together, and such brilliant minds that are out there that we're fortunate to have an association with that are putting this technology together to make it easy for sales guys to go out and sell it. So cool stuff.
Well said. Pete, you want to add anything to that?
Oh, I could add a lot to that. Do you want, if it's helpful, we can maybe dive a little bit into agility and we'll kind of tie some of that together.
Yeah, let's
and I might just share a couple slides just to kind of give the audience some visuals to kind of back up some of the things that we're talking about, if that's all right.
Yeah. While you're transitioning, Jake in the background is going to be bringing up the slides. So Chuck, that podcast with Bezos was pretty interesting. He talked about, you know, he was talking about the work he's doing with Blue Origin and SpaceX, and like they're all their destinations to get people to extraterrestrial, right, to live outside of Earth. And where's it going to be? And he's talking about the cost of that. I thought it was really cool. He talked about how internet got here and how I forget the terms he used, but basically building the ecosystem so that others can scale it. And he said he knows he may never see it in his lifetime, but he's hoping the next generation gets to see that. And I think it's a good analogy. So here we go, Pete.
Tell us
maybe evolution of
that, right? Yeah, to tie into that. So Chuck mentioned, you know, you got to have a foundation. So if you think about Digit, you can see Digit has taken on different evolution throughout its history. And the way to think of mobile manipulating robots, or most of us call them humanoid robots, is they really kind of serve two functions, right? They have to provide mobility, right, which is the leg portion, right? And think about that. Why do we build legs? Well, one, we want it to be able to go and fit into the spaces that humans do today in the warehouses. So it makes it a lot easier if the form factor is similar to us. It doesn't have to be exactly like us, but similar. So we started with Cassie, which Cassie actually ran a 100-meter yard dash in about 20 odd seconds, right? Setting the Guinness World Record. That talks to the stability of the mobility that you've got to have with the bipedal legs. The second thing that these type of robots do is they manipulate, right? So they've got to have arms and they've got to be able to change end effectors. So if you look at Digit, this is kind of who Digit is today, but there's some unique things about Digit that are different from other humanoid robotics, right? And maybe some of it is obvious looking at Digit, maybe it's not, but maybe I'm going to point out a couple of things that I would say gives Digit some abilities that others don't have because of its intelligent design. And the first one is that we decided not to build these, right? If you look at all the other humanoid robotics, they're building 5-fingered hands. And you would say as a human, well, we have these. This is easy. This is going to work, right? Well, no. First of all, if you talk to roboticists, they'll tell you building this is really hard to actually be able to manipulate a wide variety of SKUs, right? And I know friends of mine who are PhDs and engineers in the space who'd say it's 5-10 years away before that's really super functional. The reality is, though, what do we do when we have to build something? We need a nail and a hammer. What do? We go pick up a tool, a hammer, to pound that nail, right? We don't use our hands to do that. So we decided, let's change the end effectors on the end of the robot. So if I go back to the picture before, you see this robot has claw-like grippers. There are other ones I'll show you that have paddle-like grippers. Our idea is change the end effectors to fit the job. Give the robot the right tool. So we think that's a bit of intelligent design versus building this. The second thing I'd point out that's unique about Digit is kind of really highlighted on this picture, but what stands out about Digit's legs? What do you see here that's different than other humanoid robots?
They're going They're going back instead of forward at the joint, at the knee.
That's right. Every other one I've ever seen on all their YouTube videos that show them, folding shirts and doing cute things like putting dishes away, right? Their knees go forward. And you would think, well, our knees go forward. Why would that be a problem? Well, here's an example of why that's potentially a problem. With the knees going backward, Digit can get up really close to a heavy item, a tote, and be able to lift that up without its knees being in the way, without its center of gravity being too far forward, because those legs going backwards also act as a counterbalance, right? So these legs are not as beefy as others because they're going to actually use less power as well. So there's some intelligent design and some benefits to how Digit was designed that's different from others that allow us to actually already be in warehouses and do real work, as we've done at GXO and Amazon and automotive manufacturing plants and others. So it's exciting to be kind of first and out there. It's exciting to have some unique differentiators in this space, but it's early days in this space. I think, again, as I said, we're the only ones out there doing it. Others will get there, but they're still not there yet. They're all kind of prototypey today. Hopefully that helps with the kind of foundation and how we see this growing.
Yeah, go back. Can you go back to the evolution
Sure.
slide? I think that's a pretty cool slide. If Jake, if we can put that back up. And just Pete, maybe give some background. Some people, this may be the first time it may not, because most people that are listening to this are tied into the industry, but this concept of humanoids, I feel like has just taken off in the last 2, 3, 4 months. As far as, let's call it mainstream, out in the media, you're seeing it everywhere. There's multiple companies that are starting to market this, because you all were the first ones. I still remember at ProMat 2 years ago when Agility was there, and you all were kind of the one of the highlights of the show of just seeing the robots work. And you all had a big booth, and then you were there again at Modex this year. We've been looking at, you talk about Zion, and what we do is we're constantly looking at really what's the bleeding edge of technology and what's coming next, and how can we best help our customers by knowing some of the technologies out there. So I've been dialed into it. The team's been dialed into it for a couple of years. We've been really watching this evolve, but maybe go back to the origins. Do you mind sharing a little bit of where did Agility kind of start in 2016? Did it start to solve a warehouse problem, or did it start more of an academic nature? And just give us a little history of that if you've got it.
Yeah, I'll give you a little insight. So it started out of Oregon State University's robotic innovation lab, and started with Cassie, right? They built the foundation. So I think back then, and I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion back then is they had no idea that they'd end up building Digit and it would be working in a warehouse, right? At some point along the evolution, I know they had beliefs that it was going to solve problems for last mile delivery. And they thought that with the mobility of the legs, they could envision it's on an Amazon truck and the driver pulls up to your house. Instead of the driver getting on the truck, a Digit gets out of the truck, takes the package, walks up the stairs, drops the package, and goes back. So that was kind of an initial use case. And then as it continued to evolve and they started to talk to strategic customers, they ran into one of the largest packaging companies. And they were like, hey, we have this problem. It's called trailer unloading. Can you solve that? And then we started thinking, right, you now have these arms and you have the ability to manipulate packages. And it's not too far of a leap to think, hey, sure, we could unload trailers. And so we started down that path. And I think that's where it started to lead in more into the warehousing side, right? And as you think about a warehouse, you start to think about, what type of problems can I solve? What's the fastest track to actually building a product that can solve problems, right? And so I think at Agility, we started thinking about bulk manipulation, right? If I look around a warehouse, what are most of the items that are manipulated? It's totes and it's cases, right? That's vast majority of the items. I think if you take it to the next level, it gets down to eaches or interpacks or single SKUs, right? Harder challenge, right? If you look around, robotic technologies. If you wanted to pick up eaches, you need suction robots. That's how they do it. Even for handling cases today, if it's a robot like Stretch from Boston Dynamics or Pickle, they're using suction as well. So this idea of manipulating items with something other than suction is like, hey, that's a different manipulation challenge. So at Agility, we said, okay, let's find out where can we get started in a warehouse? Where can we do real work? And we centered in on totes and said, okay, they're fairly uniform in shape and size. They are rigid, right? We could find ways to manipulate those, pick them up, grab them off an AMR, put them onto a conveyor, grab it from a goods to person station flow rack, take it over to another conveyor. But let's use those kind of use cases, which we've done already today and are continuing to do, and let's use that to train Digit to do other use cases like manipulating cases. Cases are a different challenge, variety of sizes, densities, crushability. I'm going to build a pallet. Okay, that's hard to do. What if there's boxes uneven, right? Those are things that are going to take time, but we'll be doing as we move into 2025. And the idea is, if I back up for a second, if you listen to the hype in the world of humanoid robots, the word everybody uses is AI. In fact, you could argue that AI is used in everybody's marketing these days, and it's overused. The reality is you don't just say AI and tell the robot, go do this, and it doesn't. The robot has to be trained, meaning the AI model has to have a boatload of data of actually doing work in order to it to become better, faster, and enable new use cases. So we have the ability that we're out there already. We're gathering all that data. We're doing use cases on tote manipulation. We'll get it into case manipulation. That data lake of intelligence is going to allow our AI models to give us use cases faster and deploy more things faster for our customers. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah, it really is. And if you look at it on the surface, you can see like the coolness of it. It's different. I think as humans, we attach to a humanoid. You try to make it look. There's some attraction there. Like we've all seen it in movies, and we want to go touch it. We want to go see it. But when you're really breaking it down, like you are for practicality, and what Chuck alluded to earlier is you all have a very specific roadmap. And I love the term you use is walk, crawl. Right. Or crawl, walk, run. I got it backwards there, didn't it? Crawl, walk, run. And because that's really where this is today is, you transition the first mobile manipulation. And really, I'd argue it. I don't know that Atlas from Boston Dynamics was designed. I think it was probably out of a project, the DARPA, I think it's DARPA. Is it DARPA?
DARPA,
right. Yeah. Projects but it had hydraulics in it, and then you had evolution to electric or batteries, and that's an evolution that's going. And now when we sit in and we look at the proof of concepts, and you just talked about the use cases, the robots aren't intelligent yet. They will be. I don't know how long it's going to take. It may be sooner rather than later, but the robots today have to learn. They have to be trained. They have to be, for lack of a better way, coded to say, go work in this environment, which is why it's so important that you have the proof of concept. But it literally is the crawl, walk, run. And you all appreciate that. You all have got a very specific roadmap. Zion appreciates that. And it's like, how can we get out to customers? How can you all find customers that are willing to take that opportunity for you all to learn, for you to prove out these proof of concepts? And eventually let's transition to the future. How far away is the future in Pete Allen's mind? How far away is the ability to get a smart robot that has these large language models, that has generative AI, that has the ability to adapt to an environment, and can go out and be functioning and working alongside human beings? And how far out is that? How crazy of a concept is that? And just you've probably got some thoughts on it.
Well, first I would say you're dead on right. I mean, the idea, the vision is that you'll be able to talk to Digit because the AI models have been built out, right? It's this huge data lake that we're creating. We're continuing to feed the AI model. The idea is, an operator in a warehouse could say, hey, Digit, there's a bunch of cases over there. Could you go grab them and build a pallet over there in the right corner, or figure out the best way to manipulate those, right? And then it would just go do it. It's not there yet. I mean, we have videos where we've shown Pross, one of our chief technology officer, talking to Digit in normal language saying, hey, Digit, could you go pick up the box that's the color of Darth Maul's lightsaber and move it to pedestal 5? And Digit actually does it, right? It uses ChatGPT and it figures it out. So that's a long-winded story to say, yes, I see that vision you just painted is coming. How soon? Probably 3 to 5 years out, right? Something like that. But I think the reality is Digit will be in its general release form of robot by the end of 2025. The versions you see here today, this is V4. This is an alpha stage robot, which is why we're doing proof of concepts. We're not trying to tell customers this is, working at the rates of humans today. It's about 50% of the rate of a human. But by the time it gets to general release, it's going to be around 90%, which means productivity is going to be either increased or at least, neutral to what the humans are doing today for the type of work we're doing. As we build out use cases and it gets better and better, you can envision, kind of a fleet of robots. And I just want to see if I have a slide that will highlight this a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of envision a fleet of multi-purpose robots that, as an operator, today you repurpose people around the building to match the workflow that's going on in the building. Well, with a multi-purpose robot that can handle totes and cases and build pallets and unload trailers and things like that in 2 to 3 years, you can imagine repurposing your Digits around the building just as you do your people, because they don't have infrastructure constraints, right? When they get to become cobots. Today, there's whole thing about safety regulations that, there are none for bipedal robots. So we've got to make sure that those safety regulations get in place before this becomes a reality, but this is the vision.
I know, Pete, we're running up against the time, so just a couple closing comments as it relates to the POC, the proof of concept. You guys, when we visited with you, you're open, you're looking, you're searching. Anybody is a possibility. So I'm just for those that are watching, that are wondering, that are thinking, where do I go next? Just know that Agility has the opportunity to understand your application, visit with you, and then they have a really cool process as it relates to they're more focused on the proof of concept than you as a potential consumer is. They want to make sure that it's done right. They'll bring it into their facility. They'll set it up. They'll run tests. They're going to monitor it. They're going to put it at your location. There's a whole host of options as it relates to getting on board, and limited responsibility on your end as a potential prospect to get the product in to see how it works. So it's a proven process. It's working well. I would encourage anybody that's watching this to, if you're interested, feel free to reach out and learn more about how the product might work within your environment. And as important, just be a part of this evolution as this product continues to develop over time.
Yeah, Chuck, I think that's a great description of what we're trying to do. We're trying to be strategic, go in and teach Digit new use cases. Here's an example of one of the proof of concepts we did. This was with GXO. This is actually the first time a mobile manipulation robot or humanoid robot was actually used in a warehouse during production. Digit was running an 8-hour shift, ran for about 6 weeks, and it was pulling totes, as you see here, manipulating totes, which is what we're doing right now in warehouses, and taking it over to a conveyor. So to your point, we really try to work with customers who are innovative, that also want to learn, like, hey, what's it like to work with these kind of robots? And they want to educate their associates that, hey, these are coming to the warehouse, and these could potentially be new jobs where I can be a robot supervisor, right? Or a robot technician. So there's a lot of benefits that come out of these POCs, not only for us. I mean, we want to train Digit to do more. And the more use cases we can do, the more Digit's going to be able to do faster, because, again, we're building that AI data lake that's going to feed the AI models. But I think it's also important for customers to get experience with this, right? And those that are innovative are going to get that experience. And I appreciate the fact that Zion is progressive in robotics, and you guys are kind of on the leading edge of this. And as Jimmy had said earlier, you've been looking at these type of robots for the last 2 or 3 years, and I think you've investigated the landscape of who can do what and who's focused on warehousing and trying to put these kind of robots in. And I think that's why we're talking together, and I think that's why we've grown to like each other, and we want to figure out ways to work with each other.
Yeah, I think you all both said it well. And just to summarize it for any of the audience listening is we are actively seeking. If you're looking for a proof of concept or you have interest in this, then certainly reach out and we'll connect you. There's certain use cases that make sense. And the pilots aren't super long. They can be 2 to 4 weeks. We're not talking about a huge investment on your all's part. And you're doing work worth doing, which is one of the things that I say is like, this is coming. These type of robots and technology are going to be in the warehouse in the near future. And we're trying to be a part of that and help with it and educate. And that's why this budding partnership works well. As Pete, is, you all are open to listening. You're in an active learning stage. And more than anything, I think you're honest and transparent about where the state of mobile manipulation robots and humanoids are today. They're not as fast as humans. There are items we got to work through. We're definitely in the crawling stage, but they're going to walk one day, and then they're going to run, and you're going to see them, and there's going to be a product that's in warehouses everywhere, hopefully helping humans, not taking jobs away. There's a lot of noise about what do they do, and they're going to take jobs away, and it's not that. It's, you hear it overused, Pete, but it's dull, repetitive, dirty, dangerous work. I'd set it out of order of what most people do, but that's where can it be a benefit to do jobs and tasks that humans don't want to do, that aren't best suited to do? Where can humans go use our greatest asset, which is our mind, and go really make decisions? So we're excited about it. Thank you for the background on it, Pete. Two more questions, and then we're going to wrap things up. We always like to have a little bit of fun at the end. So I'm going to ask you a question there, but just out of curiosity, where did the name Digit? Does Digit have significance? Do you know why Digit?
I don't know why. I wish I did. I'm going to ask somebody that question later today.
You're going to have to tell me later on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just sitting there thinking it's like Cassie, then it went to Digit, and everything has an origin. I'm interested in the history of that, is why and what and how it got here. So let's transition to a fun question. Let me see which one of these I want to ask you. So I think this one would be, let's ask this one. So Pete wins the lottery this afternoon. You played the Powerball if they have it up in Boston. You win the lottery. What's a dream vacation? Where do you go for a dream vacation?
Oh, that's a great question. The first thing that popped into my head that's on my bucket list is Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
I've never been. Obviously, you all hear lots about that area, and it's different. It's unique. I've been to tropical islands. I've gone skiing in great places, but that seems like a pretty fun trip, and it's a long way to go. So I'd have the money to fly fly in comfort all the way for that long of a flight.
Gotcha. Cool. What type of vacation? I know Jake's got to go here for us. We're trying to get him to class, but are we a go sit on the beach type vacation, or we go get a car and get in the mountains and hike vacation?
Oh, I'm a go sit on the beach. Give me all inclusive, where I can go do things around the island. I can go golf, but I want to hang out at the beach, have some fun, eat good food, have good friends and family around me while I'm doing it.
Gotcha. You probably wouldn't like to vacation with me. You'd probably be like, I'm the opposite. I'm getting a car and go explore.
I don't mind going explore and go hiking, but it's all good. It's all good stuff.
I would agree that your trends right now are opposite. Sounds like Pete likes to go and just kind of reflect and take some time off. You like to go and get about 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night and see as many things as you can. So I'm going to hang out with Pete. I'm going to go vacation with Pete. So
Yeah,
Pete, thanks a lot for your time today. Really, really cool stuff. You guys are doing great things. Keep up the great work, and we really appreciate being just a small part of your overall success, and look forward to just doing great things together moving forward. So really appreciate you and Agility.
Oh, thank you, Chuck and Jimmy. Thanks for having me today, and look forward to continuing to build on our relationship together.
Yeah, I would echo it, Pete. It's just thank you. I know there's a team behind you. We've met them. Rich has been great to work with, and just good people doing good things, and we're excited to be a part of it, just a small part of it. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and hope everyone enjoyed this podcast. And if you've made it this far, then subscribe, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you very much.
See you guys.
Thank you.